So today we'll see how to actually access store procedure. So procedures from mapping to our entity framework, right? So we have already created a database, right? College, and where we have few tables and we have some data in it, right? And what we're doing is we are actually collecting some data sets from it, right? So let's say we don't need this for now. Let me execute this. So this is a ST which I have where I'm actually doing everything, like am actually trying to provide some attributes to it, and I'm trying to get the data which will return the complete set of students. So let me just open up the students table. Let me just query it off on that. So here we have these, right, where you can actually get the data where it is accepting some roll number and student name. So after this anyways, we'll actually try to remove this and we'll try to get all the sets and try to read it. So fine. So let's create a new project and see how our entity framework creates store procedure for us. Like it's like mainly it's like the objects, right? It gets the all of the all the DB objects, right, for mapping. So here, so now let's add an entity. Here we have a new item. So let's go to entity model. Let me call it as college model. And I want to generate it from database. We have already said an empty model, which is a model first. Let me click on next. And you already have a college database being configured with this solution, right? So that's the reason why it's getting it here. Okay, let me try a new connection anyways. So let me provide and get a server name. Okay, so and then you have given Windows authentication and database name. Let me just set here. This connection is successful. Click on OK. Your college DB. Now here, save entity as. So let me call it as college DB context. Right. So with the same name, we are saving the connection string. Right. We will actually get the context class with the same name. So that's the reason why I'm actually maintaining context class as DB context. Click on next. Yes, I want to use 6.0. Right. Now a few frameworks. Now why it is giving this is because I do have both the frameworks being set up in my Visual Studio. You may not get it because if you have already installed on 6.0, but if you have multiple versions being used, right, then you'll get this. Also, if you have multiple projects which you are using in multiple .NET versions, right, even then it will give, because 6.0 may support some version, 5.0 may support till some versions and all, right? But as we are using this, we can actually select a 6.01. Click on next, and now this time you can see we'll have all the objects being retrieved. So yeah, you can see you have a table, right? You have all tables and also the DB objects, right? Store procedures and functions we have here, right? And let's create a college model, right? In which you will have every object, either a table or a main functional object being defined. And let me include the foreign keys now. Let me click on finish. So it will create a schema for us. So this is a class schema which it created. So we have a student, and student can have, you can see, multiple academic details, and student can have multiple sports, right? Relations. We have seen the relations like one-to relation, and now here in my college there are objects which are tables, and you can see I also have something called my SPs, right? Now coming to stored procedures, right? Here you have something called, so this is an EDMX file. Now EDMX file is a main file which gets created whenever we create a framework, entity framework with some model or with some connected schemas, or even if you are creating your blank schema, right? Your EDMX file will be created so that you can actually map to map all objects in here. Now in this we have seen the model classes, like you have academics, you have sport, you have students and all, right? Now parallel you can also see one more class which is your, defining your SP result. Now the actual SP name is your SP get student details, right? Now it says underscore result, which means whatever it returns. Now let me open up this. Now you can see it returns all the columns from students, right? Now that is what it says. In my get student results, you can see it actually gets everything which this data set returns, right? And now where is that? Where is it defined as stored preserve for this SP? So let's go to something called your context here. Yes, this is my DB context, right? The main context which I have. Now here you can see that you have a DB sets. Now till now we have seen the DB sets, right? Where we have already seen that, okay, whatever schemas or tables we have mapped it to a direct model classes here. Now you can see the SPs will be created as like this. So this is your SP, right? And whatever attributes it requires, right, the parameters it requires will be created as an argument to this method. So you can say roll number and the name will be an argument, right? And you can see the result set will be your object result. Now this object result set is a generic result set in your entity code, and you can actually convert this to any type you want. Like you have more conversions, we'll see that to list or to some enumeration set. We'll see all those things when we are learning LINQ, right? Because we can apply LINQ on multiple set returns, right? We'll see that part. So here you can see it results a set of results, because the result set here gives all the column details, right? I mean the details which it will return. And while querying a table, right, you may get more than one row. So that's the reason why it returns your collection item, which is your object results type of collection item. It returns that. Now here you have roll number and name. It is here, and now you can see that it will actually execute function. Now this is the main function which we have got, right? Where it passes your number C here. It actually creates, it checks whether your roll number and the name parameters are there or not. It will actually check these things. Sometimes whenever you run your 45 on your applications, right, sometimes it may give some error over here that you can't actually provide a direct value in here, right? You have to provide in an encrypted way, or it actually does that. But anyways, it is an entry framework which is by default. These are the classes, right, created default. Then obviously it will accept this, because whatever attributes are providing, it will accept. Fine. Now these are the two parameters which is checking whether it is there or not. If it is null, it will do something, otherwise it will directly take up, right? Now you have something called a context. Now this obj context is nothing but your main context we have, right, which is an object context. And you can see it's an execute function. Now it is same method to execute an SP or any object you have in SQL Server database, right? And it will give you parameters like what is your SP name and all the parameters, and it will actually get the result set which it is returning, which is our result set. Right? And this one we can actually catch in our program. Now let's see how we can actually call that. So let me create an object of db context first, which is my call as db. So let me call it as db ctxt. And since I'm going to know your db context. Now here, your db context, now you can actually call your SP directly. Now you can see this is your SP which you can call directly over here. Now it needs a roll number and a string, and a name, right? So let's go to the database and see what details do we have. Let me just select this and execute. Now you can see roll number, you have 4 and Ram, or you can call anything. Let me call 1 and Sam, right? Let's give 1, it needs a string. Let me give Sam. So this is how we normally call SPs from Entity Framework, right? And even any type of SP. Now it can be your select or any type of SP we normally call. And whenever it executes, right, it will take up this and based on the result, right, it will give it. So here, let's say we want to get this object. The object name is, it was the object name, it was object result of my SP result, right? Yes, it was object result of my SP result. Now here, what I can do, I know that the list it is returning is of type my SP get to results. So if I create object of this class, even that will do. Or what you can do is you can create a variable or var, let's say result. Now as I said, your var is capable of handling any data type. It can be object, it can be any generic object you're creating, or any type in the complete sets of .NET it can handle. Now what I'll do, the result set, let me convert it. Now you can see there are so many types it will convert. So let me convert it to this now. Now when I convert it, it will actually convert it to true list of type your SP result set. Fine. So this is a simple way how we normally call our surfaces. Now here, if you want to read data, then obviously as it is a list, you can actually use your for each. Not this. Let's use for each too. Yeah. For each of var item, if you want to leave it as is, you can leave, and I'm gonna take your collection as a result. Now here, check this out. So when I go with console dot item, right? We have something called item dot. Now you can see here. Now these are the columns which we have in our student table, right? Now you can see the same here, right? Student name and all. So let's print student name here. And if you want, I can show your item dot student or something, anything which is apart from the number. Now here we are actually showing data. Now this is simple as that. So let me just do console dot LINQ. So here we are handling the data. Basically, we are actually calling the direct SP method. Now this SP method we can actually call only through my DB context. So as soon as I create an object of DB context, you know that your connection will be made, your data sets will be loaded and all. And when we call SP, it will go through your DB context object itself, and you are getting the data to populate. So let me put a breakpoint over here and show you how it actually runs. Let me save and let me rebuild the solution first. Maybe rebuilding your solution will build all your projects, right? So that's why it will take time. So if you want to build the specific one, you can always go to build and your actual project. It will be much faster. And let's run this. So here I came back, and now you can see it actually connected and it got me the result. Now you can see in result set, you can see I have a list of the student detailed result details result set. Now this result set class is nothing but this, now, which means each and every record will be mapped to this, right? So let's get back here. Right. Now you can see whenever I take each item, right, each item is nothing but your result set object, right, which contains all the details. Okay. Now you can actually add up here, and it will actually give you. Now this is how we normally call the SP objects from database, which we have. Fine. Now if there is any change in SP again, I mean, which is if there is any change in the actual schema or SP, we have already seen if there is any change in schemas of table, one row added, one column added in database and all right. Same as if you add any new attribute. Let's say I'm gonna add something called the rate. Let me just take it as some flag, right? As let's say I want to take it as some. Right, I executed it, which means I'm just taking whether it is 0 or 1. So which means my I have actually changed an object, right, which is not in sync with the with my entity which I have already created. Now if you go to the context, you can see it is actually taking up all two values, but basically I actually changed the pattern, right? So how can we fit this? So in order to refresh, again we have already seen this. So if you have any object change in database, right, always you have to first refresh your entity models and objects, and then get back to use those classes. So how can I refresh it? We have already seen that. Select your model EDMX, right click on that, click on open with, and select your default designer of your AD, your .NET entity data model, click on OK, right? Okay, if it is not, now you can actually see this OSS model browser. Now this is actual browser where you can see all your objects. You can see here, if you have any stock results, right, you will see all the SPs here, constraints here. We have created a few foreign keys. If you remember, all the constraints will come up over here, right? If there are associations, you can see these are nothing but the constraints. Now it will give you from a model store perspective, and if it is a model, it will give you all the associations, students and sports. Fine. So here you can just right click on this and say update model from database. Now it will actually check if there is any update in your model. Now here I have updated the SP over here, right? It should give store present. Let me click on finish. Let's see whether it updated our model or not. Now you can see the flag got updated. Fine, and your flag got updated, and here you can see that it actually gave us a flag validation also with your flag parameter. Okay. So this is how you can actually refresh any object which also gets changed right in here. Why? If you don't update your data model, right, then obviously it will actually, this SP doesn't have declaration only with 2 parameters, right? It needs more than 2 parameters. Then obviously it's going to fail, right? Because the calling itself is wrong. So this is how we can actually reset the data model we have. You don't have to delete this sometimes due to some confusions, right? Delete this model and add it again. Don't do that. You don't have to do that, because if you have done any manual things, right, to fix some security issues, then even those will be overridden. So don't do any manual, don't do any deletions and all. You can always refresh your set. Okay. So if you don't see model browser here, you can always go to view, and you have here something called entity data model browser. Okay. Click on that and it will actually give you the entity model. Okay, the model browser. But it will be automatically mapped with different things over here. And that's how we normally get the output of this. data. Fine. So this is something which these are we normally call our SPs from the entity framework. Again, we are going to use now. Again, see immediately as our context changed for SP, right? Now it is actually seeking for something. Now you can give some string flag. Let me give some yes. I mean something here to say okay, I have given a character because it accepts only one character. Now this is fine. Regular project, right? And you have fine. So this is about the way how you can actually access those SPs. Now this is same as you have seen in radio.net. Now if you want, it can be any type of SP. Right? Based on the return type, it will actually create your context methods, right? And based on the context methods, if there are any result set it is returning, it will create a separate model class for that result set to return multiple rows. Fine. The entity framework will take care of. Fine. So this is about the entity frameworks which we have in all. Right, the actual concepts which we have mostly in entity framework. So if everything is fine, let's move to the next one, LINQ. What is them? Now this is something which if you understand, right, if you are comfortable with the queries, right, so writing SPs or writing a way of how you are writing a logic in terms of queries, right, then a LINQ will be very interesting and easy to handy to use with, right. Now first let us understand what is a LINQ. So the main expansion for this is a language integrated query, right. So this support of LINQ is mainly for C# and VB and few there are some support for your Delphi Prism also, right? And the basic use of LINQ is to query the data. Query data, right? So it can be mainly on the collection or list items. Right? It can be of any type of collection. I'm not going for specific collection item. Now, whatsoever entity is capable of storing multiple data in it, right? So on that type of entities, you can actually query using a LINQ concept. So LINQ comes under your system.LINQ, right? So all your classes, right? Now this is disconnected again, guys. This is not specific to entity framework or anything, right? It is disconnected and you can use this for any collection item as such, even for arrays. So we'll be starting with a basic example today, right? How to use your LINQ with a simple array, not even a collection item, right? We'll actually go to simple array and we'll see how to use a simple LINQ item, and then we'll see all other topics in today's further classes. Right? Now we have, you may get a question that if we already have a query pattern, right? Because we have a ADO.NET and entity framework, and we are good to query databases based on my own requirements, then why do I need LINQ? Right? That may be one more question. Like, let's say if I want to get a specific student, let me just close on this. Let's say I'm getting all the students, right? Let's say after getting this all the student list, if I want a student whose roll number is only 4, right? I can use my LINQ to get it. Or you may also say, why do I need to use a LINQ? I can actually directly query a database where I can actually put a condition that I want a student whose roll number is 4. Yes. You will say yes, you will get it. But you can see the issue over here. If you query a database, right, you will get one set at a time. You mean, let's say you actually want a complete set of guys, students, and for specific student you want to do some action, and for some other student you want to do some other action, which means in a complete data set you want to use 3 different students, let's say. Then if you say that I can query database 3 different times, will that be efficient or get the data whatever you want? right? And then query based on your requirement, right? Obviously, you can think of which will be the best way to use, right? So that best way is getting the set of data, whatever you mainly wanted, right? Let's say you have 1 million records, right? And what you want to do is you want to get some 100 records out of it because you want to move here and there in between the 100. Let's say from 1000 to 1100 you want to get, right? Then obviously you can get the data in between, right? And then what you can do, among that data, you can actually use a link where in 100, let's say you want to actually search on to 25 users and do something. Okay, you can do that easily. That is something, that is where your link is used, which is very handy and very efficient and faster to query in between your sets, right? So that is about link which you have. Now let's start up. Okay, so which part, Shamanti? Is the data retrieval part you mean? I mean, you wanted again in the sense. Okay, importance. Fine. Now the main importance is that, let's say, querying a database and getting data is something using anything. It can be your entity framework or ADO.NET or SP's creation and querying from ADO.NET, anything. It's a costly process, right? Because if you are actually trying to get much data, it's a costly process. And I mean, triggering one and triggering your database once and getting a big data set itself is a cost. And think about triggering again and again your database and getting data, right? For multiple things will be much costlier to you because you are actually hitting the database multiple times, which is a costly one because you are consuming one connection, and a single connection to database will be a costly when it comes to production. And when it comes to large volume of users, right, where each and every connection matters, will actually become a huge cost, right? So at that time, what we have. So if you want to do some different tasks across your sets, right, across your data, right, then what you can do, you don't have to actually get each and every data by querying your database. Take an example. Let's say I want to do something with the RAM. I mean, for a roll number 4, I want to get phone number. For roll number 2, I want to get name, which means you don't have to query twice. I don't have to query with the roll number 4 guy, get this data and get your phone number, and again you don't have to go to 2 and again query and get the data and get the name. No, you don't have to go in multiple ways. What you can do is you can just say roll number. Do it your query in a smart way that you want roll number in 2 and 4, let's say, right? Query it. You get both the rows. And how can I distinguish between them? You can directly use a link. This I'm talking about only 2 rows, but in general you will get multiple rows where you may have to apply some internal query on the list. That you can do it here. Let me show you a simple example, then you will actually understand. Right? So let's start up a new project for link. So let me call up your link intro. Okay, so here let me make it as a startup project. So what I'm going to do here is let me use exception handling. So let's start with a simple array as such, or you can also use a collection item also. But let's say I have a string array, or rather I'll take some int array. As new integer, I can give direct values. So 12. So let's say I want to do some action like I want to get something where I have some potential values here. Now these are right, take a simple collection itself. So we were talking about continuous database stuff, right? Don't worry about only database. That is one reason why we have, and we have many other reasons why we use LINQ. So you will understand why here. Now here, let's say normally if you want to get data which is greater than 100, let's say I want to uh, get items in this array, right? In this integer array whose value is greater than 100. Now normally how do we do that? I want to print everything. How can we do? So first we'll see if you don't know LINQ. Normally how will we do this? So what we'll do? I mean at the most we'll use for each, right? Each item in collection array for ARR, right? And what we'll do? So each item is an integer, right? So put it as int. And what we'll do? We'll just check if item is greater than 100, right? Then we'll print it. Right kind of, let's say, right. This is what we do. And then you have console.link. Now obviously you can understand, as of now we are actually considering only some 8 items, and you are iterating through 8 items to get some data. Run this. Now you can see you have 577 and so some 2 numbers which are greater than 100. Now think that how costly is this operation. Think that in a big picture. Let's say your array or any collection item, how many numbers will have, right? And if you have large volume, let's say you have 1 lakh numbers we saved, right? And you want to iterate through those 1 lakh numbers, then what is going to happen? It's going to take much time, right? So if you want to check, we can do one thing. Let me take a larger volume and show you the difference. So let's say I'm going to take let's say some from this. Right, and what I'm going to do here is, let me just say, so I'll take this till length of ARR.length, and what I'll do, I'll feed the data with some multiples of let's say I'm going to do this, right? And then I want to print data which is greater than. Let me run this. Now I can see whatever is greater than this. Now think how much time it would have taken to actually get this data, right? And what I'm doing, I'm actually printing them at a time, right? But actually feeding data, right? Will take some time anyways. And then what we are doing, we are iterating through everything. Now what we are doing here, let's say if I'm using some 10,000 here, right? Then I'm actually iterating 10,000 iterations or 9,999 iterations just to check whether element is there or not, which I would need, right? Because I want element only from this. Now, which means I'm actually iterating through this unnecessarily for, let's say, 10,000 minus 1 times, right? So that cost we can actually save using your LINQ. Now, using LINQ, let's see how to get the data. First, let's see how we can actually achieve that in a simple way. So let me revert back everything, and let's take a simple array again, right? And let me comment this up. So LINQ pattern is basically this. The first pattern which we have. Let's say I want something like some output. Let's say I'll take output. Now LINQ you can actually use as if you are querying a database, right? So what you can do, you can write something like your from is a keyword which is under LINQ. Let's take each item as, let me consider again item as item, right, in your list called ARR. Now this will give you each item, whatever I have in ARR. What do you want to do? I want to get all items which are greater than 100, where you can see item is greater than 100. Okay, from this array where all items are greater than 100, what to do? I want to select. Now this is a simple query which you have to do. Now this will actually give all the items which are greater than 100 in one shot. Now after that, what you can do here is, let's say, for each in our output, let's print this. So here, let's say console dot write line of your item. And run this up. We'll get this. Now you can see what we're doing instead of iterations, right? Multiple iterations. Now, how many iterations I've saved? I've saved around, there are 8 values here, right? I've saved 6 iterations. I just got 2 in one shot, which means I'm saving a lot of time here. And make sure your LINQ, we can use LINQ in versions. If you're using .NET version at least 3 or at least greater than 3.5, you can use. If your application is in 2.0, then you can't use LINQ. Now because LINQ support is not there for .NET 2.0, right? At least if it is greater than 3.5, we can use your LINQ only. Right? Now this is how we normally do. Now this is a simple one simple query which I have shown. Now we have many more things in LINQ which will be interesting, right? But see how good is the syntax. Like you just have to understand what logic you want to write, and you can have anything here. Let's say I want item greater than 100, and let's say I'm going to take and you have item, let's say, less than 1000. Right? See, I'm actually expanding the scope of the query. Now see here, I'm saying 100 and 1000, which means I'm still disintegrating it. Right? When I run this, you will see one item, which means it will actually remove. It won't go till 7 iterations, but it will directly get my value whatever it was. Right? So this is a main advantage you have. Right? This is one advantage which we have discussed now. Now, if we go ahead with multiple things which we have linked, right? You can also iterate through this LINQ in some other way. Now, we'll also use this LINQ in much more when we start MVC. In our SP.NET MVC, when we start SP.NET MVC 4, right? We'll be using this LINQ a lot again, right? Because we'll be showing some data, how to get, we'll use entity framework again in MVC, we'll use LINQ again in MVC, right? Because we have to retrieve data, filter it out, whatever details I want, get it up and show it on there. So I have many patterns which I can use in like this and this, right? We'll see more and more topics today evening, right? We'll see LINQ will cover most of the LINQ details today. Fine. So this is about sample which you have in LINQ, and you can see all the patterns will be like this. It will be very interesting to actually learn LINQ, like how differently it actually gives the output. But for sure, right, it actually gives us more optimized way of writing a program than actually going for iterations or doing different stuff on program. Okay. So this is about simple introduction to LINQ. So we'll actually move into advanced topics of LINQs in our further classes.